Thanks for joining, everybody. It's James Felton Keith, CEO here at Inclusion Score. Look, I've been getting a lot of DMs and questions and emails about the Society for Human Resources Management's decision to eliminate the E or equity from their diversity, equity, and inclusion, I guess previously, mandate. And I'll do two things. I'll tell you what I think, and then I'll give you a little bit of history, a little bit of insider baseball. I've been doing this work for a while. And if we really think about the function of the Society for Human Resources Management, being as old of an organization as it has, I think they've carried the torch of DEI over the course of the past 20 or 40 years, depending on who you're asking. But it's really outside of their core mandate. Now, you often hear me and people like me advocate for a separation of DEI and HR because of the functions of what they mean. Now, that's that. I don't think that DEI is their objective, even though they've done a lot of DEI work. And as someone who trains and educates folks both down at the University of Georgia and in India and Southern Africa and Latin America and you name it, and Europe, around the new international standard for DEI, I'll say Shrm people always come to us with the biggest gap between what they think DEI can be and what it actually is per the new international standard. And so here is the insider baseball. Even when I read, back in the day, I used to have a radio show and talk about inclusion. And back then, the publisher of Johnny, the CEO of Shrm's board right now, sent me a copy of their book. It's called Reset, A Leader's Guide to Work in an Age of Upheaval. Throughout this book, they don't talk about equity at all. I mean, in the 7th chapter, they talk about creating an inclusive workplace and essentially say, since the Civil Rights Act of 1964, all of the trainings and everything that we've done haven't moved the needle at all. And by and large, that's true, but I do think that the fledgling industry that DI has tried to be has come together over the course of the past 2 or 3 years, and I'll tell you how, and how Shrm has deliberately stayed out of this work. About 12 years ago, there was a rather large cohort of some of my colleagues and co-founders at Inclusion Score and hundreds of other people at the Society for Human Resources Management who wanted to create a standard, not necessarily international standard, but a standard set of language so that we understand what each other are saying, no matter where we are around what DEI is. And Shrm, in that moment, deliberately got out of the standard writing business. Because when we talk about inclusivity more broadly from a broader organizational design, it is not just about HR. It is about governance. It is also about product delivery. It is also about procurement and supplier diversity. And Shrm wanted to stay away from the standards writing space, even though they certify people in something close to a standard. They essentially train people in empathy and civility. And while empathy and civility are certainly necessary, I don't know that empathy changes how we include people in the normal economy, which is the real problem facing us over the course of this century. As people turn on across the globe and they become educated and can do all sorts of new work across the globe, it is our role as people in corporations and governments to figure out how to include them in the normal economy or chaos ensues. That is not the mandate of Shrm. So while I'm not saying to cut them any slack and that I agree with their getting rid of the equity in DEI, I do think that the concepts of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging and accessibility and justice even are far beyond their walls. That said, I do think that it is possible to deliver inclusivity to organizations. But again, Shrm has deliberately stayed out of the conversations that we've been having across borders with regards to how we deliver that. So I'll let you in on another secret. The core innovations of the International Organization for Standards, ISO 30415 standard, are that we've productized or made into services the 4 categories that institutions might deliver to realize that core infrastructure of inclusivity. And those are training, and everyone understands what training means, data collection, whether it be demographic or sentiment analysis, and internal infrastructure, whether it be hiring a CDO or building out employee resource groups, you name it, and external infrastructure, which usually sums up as marketing campaigns or procurement or supplier diversity or joining minority chambers of commerce. All of these things come together and can be distributed in a workflow managed way, in the same way that we deliver good accounting or good cyber or good manufacturing or other sorts of principles across any well-organized, professionalized industry. Shrm doesn't do that. And it's not their fault. They're a rather large organization who I think for the past few decades has been asked to facilitate conversations on a topic that it is, again, deliberately unable to facilitate. And so now we're here. But I think, again, because there is an international standard, for anyone who wants to get familiar with it, and again, even I would encourage you, even if you are a Shrm person, if you're a certified Shrm person, I would say come to the ISO. Let's have a conversation about the gaps between what HR does and what DEI does. And we can show you the path on how to deliver inclusivity and equity to your organizations, because that is still our core objective as we move further into the 21st century. We have to figure out how to make life more equitable for more people, or again, chaos ensues. And so while I think Shrm's lack of leadership here is disheartening, I don't think that it is surprising. And I think that we need to try to fill the void that we see in the market from legacy organizations with new organizations that have the capability, again, to include all of us in the normal workforce. So that's my 2 cents. If anyone wants to chat or talk further on it, feel free to email me. And see you on the flip side.